Parks, schools, restaurants, and more, Assembly Row gets high scores. We're a thriving city with so much to do. On Boston Harbor, in our view. Politics, cannabis, controversial stories, heroes, villains, who gets the glory? 50 plus languages in Somerville is spoken. Sanctuary city, there are no free tokens. History in Somerville stays alive. In All American City, we won 3 times. Somerville connects. Somerville connects. Welcome to another edition of Dead Air Live, the longest live-running TV show in America and audio podcast, Somerville Connects. Today we have Chan-Tse from Beech Construction. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Jojo. How are you?
Chris, I'm thrilled to be here with you. We know each other through our B&I group, Business Networking International in Cambridge. And you are a fascinating human being. You're very detailed oriented and you have a great business. But our viewers and listeners, we want to find out a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit about you, Chris.
Sure. So kind of the background for what culminated eventually into Beech Construction. Always been kind of a handy man person, hands-on. And it was after college that I attended North Bennett Street School, which is one of the oldest running trade schools in the country. I attended their carpentry program, and then that's when I really fell in love with the art and the craftsmanship of finished carpentry and construction.
You know, it's amazing you talk about the North Bennett School. My mother taught knitting there when she was 16 years old. So we're going back to about 1939. And
it's a very old school.
It's an old school, but they really produce some great folks from that school. So Chris, you work mainly with kitchens and bathrooms. Is that correct?
Correct. So we are a full service general contracting company. So we will take on a multitude of different types of projects and sizes of projects. But right now, kind of what we have been doing the most of are bathroom and kitchen remodels.
And as I mentioned earlier, you're very detailed oriented. When I look behind you, I see a beautiful car behind you. And I know that's something that you want to acquire at some point in your life, a $250,000 car, which I know you can because I've seen some of your work. And when I say you're detailed oriented, you have very, very clean lines. Mm-hmm. What makes your business so unique, why people come to you?
So really it's that attention to detail. Kind of what we're seeing a lot right now, as you may know, is in the trades there really is a lack of both the skilled laborers or individuals that are very detail oriented, as well as most of the contractors right now are of an older generation. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. They do come with a lot of life experience and things like that. But what we tend to find is that they are pigeonholed in the ways and materials of kind of the past. Right now, with green energy and the way that things are going for a lot of the environment and even legislation, we're seeing that push more towards environmentally friendly and green building sciences. So with that, what we also really like to focus on is that technology, integrating the new products and bringing all of the newest technologies that are available to us to implement in your home, as well as focusing on the details and truly the craftsmanship of the product that we're delivering.
How do you implement? Give us some ideas of new technology, let's say in a bathroom.
Mm-hmm. So for bathrooms, typically when those would be constructed specifically in the shower or tub enclosures, in the past, most contractors would use cement board, which is a cementatious product all the way through. And that, when it gets applied to the walls, acts as that backer board behind the tile. What we've really found is it can be very varied with the installations of those products, where if the surface is not completely flat and you're going to put on a very intricate tile, so let's say a mosaic, which are the very small tiles that come on those 12 by 12 sheets, If you're applying something like that to one of those products and it's not skim coated or flat, there can be waves in the tile itself if you're looking at it at an angle. Those are things that are unacceptable to us. There can also be issues with waterproofing and the longevity of the product itself. So to combat that, what we use are, so there are two main German products that are available on the market right now that we really focus on, Weedy and Schluter, and they are two separate bathroom insulation systems specifically for wet areas. And what those are is that's a foam core product, but the outside has a fully waterproof membrane attached to it, which gives you not only the ease of installation, the lightness, but it also gives you a fully waterproofed enclosure, which is really important for a shower.
It sounds like you don't skimp on the products that you use. You work with the best.
Correct.
How will a consumer know that you're giving them the very best? Is it something that they can physically see? Is it something that you tell them? Because a lot of contractors are known to take shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
And you do not take shortcuts. So how can you reinforce with your customers that you are giving them the best?
So typically for our customers, we do like to verbally reinforce that. But as you said, there really is only so much that can go. What I would encourage anybody who's potentially looking to get any sort of renovations done or who is vetting a contractor, if that is something that is important to you, where the quality of materials and the use of non-inferior products is important to you, then you should ask your contractor about that. There's a whole plethora of information that you as a homeowner can research yourself and look into, but just ask the contractor and be upfront with what are the materials that you're using. Have you thought about using this material? And that'll really give you a good sense of how they are with those products. If they have a general reaction of, oh, we don't use that, or yeah, we can use that, but we typically don't. Or even if they just are confused and they say, what is that? I think that is a really big indicator for you. If you as a homeowner that is not the professional and you're going to the professional and telling them, have you thought about using this product? Is this something that you do implement in your builds? And they have no idea what it is, that right there is a red flag, at least in my eyes. At least for us ourselves, although we don't necessarily bring a suitcase or a show van full of the different products that we use and let the customer look at them, we can still, upon request, provide some of those for the customer to look at, to touch, to feel, to really get a sense of the different products. But we will, throughout the process, try to explain what makes these products that we use different.
Do you most likely work with a lot of different vendors? Like, a lot of people think if they're saving money, then they're doing good, but that is not always the case. Can
Correct.
you explain to us some of the differences? And I was fascinated when you did this in one of your B&I meetings.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about different types of wood and
Correct.
grain. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so with woods, there are many different types, species, varieties, things like that would affect their characteristics. If we're talking in a general sense about the standard wood stud, which is used in all types of construction, but they are what hold the walls up. It's what holds the roof together, things like that. Within those even individual species, if you go to your regular big box store, you're going to find predominantly two types of a generic 2x4 stud. You're going to have the cheapest option and then what they call the premium option. Now, the premium option is a longer growth wood, which means the longer the growth, the more growth rings there will be in the wood itself if you have a cross section of it. With that, that means that it's much stronger. It should be more dense. So you will have those two grades of the consumer grade and the premium grade. Even within those grades, though, there is still going to be a separate grade that is given to contractors if they go to a supplier or a lumber yard. They do get a different grade of wood, even though it could all be the same species of spruce, pine, or fir. There is going to be differences in the quality from how the wood is sawn, and just to the overall aesthetics and strength of it. Where this really comes into play for us is, once again, if we're talking about bathrooms and kitchens, bathrooms where you have high ceilings and big sections of tile, you want to make sure that that tile is straight, whether that is for what I mentioned before, the mosaics, subway, or even large format tiles. If there's any major variance in the flatness and how coplanar that wall surface is, that will show through in the end product, and that's something that we don't really compromise on. So with the 4 illustrations of wood that Jojo was able to see, you'll see that there's both differences in the density of the growth rings itself, but also a difference in the flatness, the squareness, and just how overall straight these studs are. And these are just short sections. These aren't going over a long span. So do take that into consideration. But what we use is an engineered product, and those are both stronger than typical wood studs. It's a little bit more sustainable because it does use recycled, essentially, wood chips from other wood materials. But the main thing for us is that we can guarantee that no matter if it sits outside for a day, sits in the van for the day, or is in the construction site for a little bit before it gets installed, it is square, it is straight, and we know that when we install that, it will give us a dead flat surface that we can then work off of, because all of these little imperfections will compound over time and can lead to an inferior product, in our opinion.
You are very well informed, and I absolutely love that. Now, when someone wants a new kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
is it something when someone wants a new kitchen, do they tell you what they're looking for, or do you walk into their place and make a suggestion? How do you approach this?
So we'll always try to come in with our suggestions and our professional input. That's just something that we will do for all of our projects. But in terms of, if you're talking specifically design, we typically do like to work with designers just because they're familiar with the products that we use, they're familiar with how we operate, and that can just give a better flow and ultimately better suggestions for the client delivering a better product. But we have had instances where the client wants to be the designer, and that's perfectly fine. They'll give us a selection of materials, and we will still work through that list with them to develop the scope of work and work out any kinks that may be in there or incompatibilities. But we have worked with both spectrums, where we have clients that want us to do all of the design and the build, or clients that want to focus on the design themselves and just have us deliver the product.
Beautiful. You mentioned in one of our meetings how a client, there was a job that was done and you were not satisfied. For some reason, you were not satisfied and you had to revisit that job and redo a few things. Tell us about your code of ethics.
Yeah, so I'm not sure specifically which job this was in regard to, because we see it all the time. I mean, if you guys check out on our social media, we do post a lot of things that we see in the field that would not fly for us. But I can attest to one of the situations that it was a mistake on our part, and with our tile installer, there was a slight miscommunication between myself and the subcontractor, where when they installed the tile, they started from one side of the wall with a full tile, which meant that by the time we got to where the shower controls were, it was off by a 16th of an inch. Now, with the trim getting installed at the final finish, would the client have noticed? Possibly. It depends on how anal retentive they are, or OCD about making sure that things are straight. But for us, that was something that was unacceptable for the product that we're delivering and for what the expectations that we set with the client are. There's a reason why they chose to go with us versus someone else, and we wanted to deliver on the best possible product, so we ripped it all out. That's something that we took the hit on and we paid for out of pocket, but we would rather have done that now while we're still mid-construction than to finalize the entire project 3-4 weeks out, have them find it, and then now it ends up costing everybody more time, money, stress in the long run. So it's something that that we have implemented, where it's really, if there's an issue, we're going to rip it out right now and correct it before it can once again snowball and compound into something worse.
You mentioned that skilled laborers, they're harder to come by because most people are old school. What is your criteria for hiring people on your team as well?
Mhm. And I do also want to make a correction to that statement earlier. So I don't want to say that there is no skilled labor, because any labor, no matter any industry, is skilled. What I meant by saying that is more so individuals that fit with our, like you mentioned, code of ethics, and just fit with the company culture. So there are plenty of people that are very good at what they do. They're, let's say, going back to the tile installer example, there are many people that we've run into that can do a good job installing tile, but it goes beyond that. When you're inviting contractors into your house, we want them to treat the house like it's their own. It's unacceptable for us for cleanliness for them to be, if they smoke, leaving cigarette butts all over the place outside, for just leaving a messy job site at the end of the day, so that when the customer, whether they're living there or not, they come to check on the job site and it's a disaster. That to us says something about the quality of work. If you're going to leave this place a mess, what are you doing to my walls that I can't see after it's all covered up? So for that labor, I think with that correction, that should be more so stated as there's a lack of individuals that share the values of quality craftsmanship and delivering the best possible end product to the client, that we think is lacking in this industry. And to touch on your question of how we find that, it really is based on those values. It's finding individuals that possess the skills, just to be able to implement that. It doesn't have to be that they are really good at the trade, as anything is teachable. It's more so the habits that they have and the habits that they bring to the job site.
What would you like people to know about Gold Beach Construction that we haven't covered?
The major points really are that we try to differentiate ourselves with our process, the quality of the products that we're delivering, as well as kind of some of the design inputs that we come in with. We think that we do provide a fresh take on your typical general contractor. We are a small business, and we are looking to really expand and take on more challenging products that push the boundaries of design and craftsmanship, to really make someone's dreams come true.
Well, it looks like you've made a lot of people's dreams come true.
Thank
When
you.
I visited your website, the testimonials,
Mhm.
they're fabulous. People really love what you do. And I love your code of ethics. A lot of people love that. That's what makes you different and sets you apart than most people. So, Chris, how can people find you?
Sure. So we are on social media. You can visit our website. But what I would encourage you to do is just give me a call. My number is 781-325-8655. If you have any questions or you want us to come take a look at a project, feel free to reach out. If you're looking for a gallery of some of our previous work, our website is Gold Beech, spelled with two E's, BEECH.com. We're also on HOUZZ, Instagram, and Facebook.
And what area do you service people in? Because we're talking in the northeast of
Mhm.
the United States. So give
Correct.
us your range if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so generally we want to stay, or we'll work in the Middlesex area, the Greater Boston Metro West, but we have taken projects that are a little bit outside of that. It really depends on the scope of work and kind of the type of project it is. If it's something that's really unique that we think would be a challenge for us and we wanted to explore, we'll definitely travel a little bit further. But for right now, I would say mostly Metro West area.
Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much, Chris Chan-Tse from Gold Beach Construction. Fabulous human being, folks. If you want to get your bathroom done, your kitchen's done, he does general contracting. I would highly recommend Chris. And by the way, you do get what you pay for. And sometimes people spend a little bit more, but guess what? It's going to last a whole lot longer. So, Chris, thank you for joining us today for another edition of Dead Air Live and Somerville Connects.
Thank you, JoJo.
Thank you, folks. Bye for now. We'll see you the next time. Somerville Connects. Somerville Connects.